Okay, so this is an interesting problem. We want to have one button or one key on the laptop or whatever that causes my tracks to fade out over like a measure. So that if we get off the click or something like that, we can hit a button and the tracks will fade out gradually and not cut out. Um, in order to do this, we're going to have to set some stuff on the back end up. And if you haven't already done this, this is a really, really powerful tool. It's like a control channel that allows MIDI data that's in the track to control any aspect of Ableton, including mutes or play and stop or whatever. So if you haven't already done this, I'm going to show you how to do it really quickly. What it involves is setting up something called an IAC driver bus. And an IAC bus basically allows you to send MIDI data from computer to computer, or I'm sorry, from program to program on the same computer. So the way that we're going to use it is we're going to use it to send MIDI notes from the track out and then back into Ableton to control like your play, your stop, your fades, your mutes, that kind of thing. You can it's a really powerful tool and you can use it for a whole bunch of stuff. So let me show you how to set that up real quick. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command Space and I'm going to type in MIDI, and that's going to bring me to my audio MIDI setup. Okay, so I'm going to open that up. This is all the physical hardware audio devices on your computer. To get to where I need to go, I can hit Command 2, or I can come up to Window and hit Show MIDI Studio. Okay, this is all the MIDI hardware and buses on your computer. If you need to route MIDI data to anything, this is where you come. Okay, so I'm going to go to IAC driver because that's what I'm looking for. Double click that. And you can see I already have one set up for a bunch of different stuff, right? I'm going to go ahead and make a new one. I'm going to hit add here. This is a new bus. And I'm going to name it, just for this video, I'll name it like track fade or something. I would probably just use my existing Ableton bus, but for the purposes of this, I'll just create a new one for you. So make sure track fade is online and then hit apply. All right, so we just created a new pathway for MIDI to travel. And I can go ahead and quit my audio MIDI setup. Now that once I come into Ableton, I'm going to have to make sure that Ableton can utilize this new pathway, right? So I'm going to come up to my live preferences. I'm going to go to MIDI. And what I need to make sure of is that under that new IAC driver it's created called track fade, that both on the input and the output, that track and remote are both turned on. Track allows it to utilize like notes that are in the tracks, and remote allows that bus to control like buttons in Ableton, play, stop, fade, mute, that kind of thing. So I need track and remote on both on the input and output. And that's it. So now that the back end is set up, I can come in and create my control channel. So in my project, this is my song here. I'm just going to hit Command-Shift-T to create Command-Shift-T to create a new MIDI track. I'm going to go ahead and name that MIDI track like, I'll name it Fade for now, since that's what we're doing. But this channel can be assigned to do all kind of cool things, and I'll show you that. So we want to make sure that there's no input, because I don't want it coming in from anywhere. But I'm going to assign the output to that IAC driver that I just created. Okay, so that means that any MIDI that comes out of this track goes into my IAC driver bus back into Ableton, right? So you can do this. This is just such a powerful tool because you can do so much with it. All right, so say I wanted this project just like this song to stop automatically. Well, I can create a note or a clip here, assign a note to it. Okay, so I have a note in my clip now. That's a nice little C3. Actually, let's make it something else because I think I have something on a C3. Let's make it an F7. And you can really choose any note you want. I want this F7 to cause Ableton to hit the stop button. Okay, and I can do this now by simply coming to, I'm going to click this. I'm going to hit my MIDI assign mode, which is this in the top right. And then I'm going to click the stop button and simply hit play. That just assigned that F7 to the stop button, right? So I'm going to come out of MIDI assign mode so that whenever this clip, this F7 appears in my timeline, it'll stop the tracks. And it stops, just like that. So you can use this control channel to do a whole bunch of stuff. Turn the click on and off, activate or deactivate tracks. You can do a lot with it. But let's use this control channel to fade our master bus, okay? The volume from 100 to 0, okay? The way that we're going to do that is we're going to come and assign a new note that's not on our stop command. I'm going to come and make like a C8 or something. You can choose whatever you want. I'm going to make it a measure long because I want to fade it over a measure. And now I need to find a way to make this note kind of go from 100 to 0 because we're automating the change, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a volume envelope to make this happen. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to come to this button here, this little expansion button, which opens up my envelope editor. I'm going to come to this, make sure it's MIDI control, and then go to the drop down here and choose volume. And you can see the volume is set to 100 across the entire note, right? Well, I'm going to create a point at the end of the note and another point at the beginning of the note, and I'm just going to drag the second point down to 0. All right? So now you can see that my volume envelope is going from 100 to 0 across the length of the note. Perfect. All right. So when we unclick this little thing and we come back to the roll here, we got our C8, and we know that the volume envelope across that C8 is going from full to 0. Cool. Now I need to assign this note to my master volume fader. And you could do this to the master if you wanted it to work for a certain song. You could assign it to like a subgroup. And it really depends on how many outputs you have for your track. So at my church, we use 8 outputs. We have outputs for the drums, outputs for bass, output for guitar, output for keys, and output for everything else. So we have 8 separate outputs. In that case, I would want to have a subgroup that fades those 8 outputs all together. But if you're only using like 2 outputs, like a left and a right for your track, you can go ahead and assign it to the master. So that's what I'm going to do here. So in order to get this note assigned to my master, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to click the note to get my playhead there. I'm going to go into MIDI assign mode. I'm going to click my master volume fader, and I'm just going to hit play. And that's going to assign that note to my master volume. Okay? So that now, whenever that note comes along, it's going to fade my master out. So listen to this.
Outro 2, 3, 4.
Look at that. Perfect. All right, so it's doing what we want. Now, obviously, we don't want to just put this note in the timeline or in the arrangement view because we want to have this accessible as a button that we can use at any moment. How do we do that? Well, I'm going to go ahead and cut this so it'll go to my clipboard, but it'll take it out of my arrangement. Okay, so now it's cut. I'm going to leave my track alone. Excuse me. But I'm going to come into session view. Well, so I'm going to hit tab to go into session view, and I'm going to paste it into that track in session view. So let me find my control track. There's my fade track. I'm just going to paste it in at the top here. So Command V, and then I'm going to name it fade out. Okay. Now I'm going to assign fade out to a key. Now you can also assign it to a controller or something else. But I'm going to hit key. I'm going to click it, and let's assign it to like F for fade. Why not? So now anytime I hit F, it's going to play my fade out cue. And the beauty of this is you can run these session view cues along with your arrangement view. So I've got nothing in my arrangement view track, but if I come in here and play this and then stop it, let's see. When I come into my arrangement view, look at this. I've got this red button now, and I've got this little play symbol on the track. That means that there's a track in session view that's queued up that can be played at any time. All right? So now it's really cool because if I'm in my project, I can hit that F at any moment and it's going to fade out. So let's go ahead and play this. I'll bring my volume back to 0. And if I hit my F key,
Verse 2, 3,
it
4.
fades the tracks over one measure. And there you go. Now, I would probably go in here and make a second clip on my fade that fades it back in. So I'm going to go ahead and do a C8. That's a measure long. Same note, right? C8, measure long. And then I'm going to come to my envelope editor, volume, and then do the same thing but fade it up. Okay, so now we got one that's fading up. We'll rename it fade in. This way I can fade my tracks in live really easily. And then I'll assign the key to a U for up. Why not? And when I come back to arrangement view and start playing it, that up should bring my volume back up.
Verse 2, 3, 4.
Now, one thing that's really, really important that I just forgot is on these MIDI clips, make sure they are not set to loop. We do not want that to loop because then it'll just be looping up and up and up. So I want to look at both of these tracks and make sure they're not set to loop. Okay, so I just want them to play once and be done. So let's come back to arrangement view. So now when I hit F, it's going to fade out.
Interlude 2, 3, 4.
And when I hit up, or U, it's going to fade up. So there you go. Hopefully that's clear. I was just happy that we were able to figure that out. If you have any questions, let me know. Or if you want me to send you like a template project where that's already set up, I can do that too. But I thought that was pretty cool. Let me know how it works out for you.